In the year 2235, a young man in his early 20s named Logos constantly suffered from nightmares. Even though he was about to attain immortality soon, he didn't consider it a gift, because love, kindness, and joy cannot be imposed. The idea of eternal life seemed romantic, but how could one truly live knowing they would never die? Every day, people underwent sessions led by the chief proponent of immortality, known as the pilot. He declared that everyone would receive a temporary freeze at the peak of their achievements. Using an application, he eliminated the pain from injuries and losses, erased undesirable and unsightly personality traits, leading everyone into a new world. Those who didn't follow the pilot's lead died when they reached a certain age. The rest became a unified nation, putting an end to wars and suffering. One day, a trainee guardian explained to the children in training how a cat works, while one woman stopped aging because, according to the pilot, she had reached her potential peak. This typically occurred around the age of 25. However, Logos was filled with fear about what lay ahead, feeling isolated as if no one else saw the world as he did. One day, a mysterious girl secretly contacted him, handing him a transmitter, and Armares and the head of security appeared before the pilot as holograms. The pilot approved of her desire to be of service to society and needed a girl who hadn't become a guardian yet to monitor Logos. However, Logos hadn't done anything wrong so far. Meanwhile, Logos followed the instructions of the female voice and met her in the center of the unknowing. Unbeknownst to him, Akaya was trailing him. In the corridor, Akaya joined Logos, discussing friends. The pilot was informed that the conversation had been entirely neutral, but he ordered continued surveillance. Armares told Logos about Kaya, revealing that a man named Helios, while working with the pilot, had developed a special virus capable of erasing the code of immortality. Subsequently, Helios had his own memories wiped, just like other dissidents who still remembered what it meant to be mortal. The pilot feared that Helios's idea might still be alive, and the girl who contacted Logos could be one of his followers. Kaya continued her surveillance and got to know Logos. He revealed that he was an engineer specializing in form formation, and upon learning that she worked in the unknowing, he asked about her faith in the code. However, she evaded the question. Later, Logos visited an old church where he met a group of dissidents who opposed the pilot's ideas. It became clear that everyone in this society was under some form of control, regularly taking a certain substance that dulled their feelings and emotions. However, it didn't affect Logos, just like the rebels who, under Midori's leadership, were developing an antidote based on the notes of the scientist, Helios. An arcade historian who knew about this issue asserted that the pilots and Helios were once inseparable, but the pilot had gone further, not involving his friend in his plans. Their paths diverged, and the pilot began erasing the memories of the original mortals. Now the pilot was gathering information about mortals in his data center. So, the erasure of one's mind was the murder of immortality. When someone underwent maintenance, they became obedient to the pilot's will. The rebels are determined to, at least once, revoke the procedure to let people feel free. Meanwhile, the pilot engages in a game of chess with his artificial daughter, Amanda, who is curious about matters of faith. Immortals do not fear death, and therefore do not have a need for religion. However, the pilot insists that science and technology are the true gods of humanity because they work for the common good. Unexpectedly, Amanda raises a question about Helios, and the pilot acknowledges that Helios believed that the human body was a machine that could be perfected to run forever. They founded a team and recruited genetic scientists to achieve this for the greater good. Meanwhile, Logos is haunted by a nightmare where he finds his own dead body. Later, he meets Okaya, who asks him questions about maintenance, believing they have much in common. Logos, on the other hand, is interested in the leader of the rebels and how they plan to disable the maintenance. Midori reveals the vulnerability of the facility from which the substance spreads. They discover that all the buildings in their city are connected by underground labyrinths. All that remains is to find someone who can help them infiltrate it. Logos goes to Kaya's location, where he meets her colleagues, twin sisters who laugh at his questions about losing identity. Akaya, in the meantime, questions Armares, who believes that the pilot knows better than anyone else how people should live and requests to continue surveillance. Later, Logos invites the girl to a meeting with his friends, where they discuss Helios's beliefs that everyone has their purpose and the universe has a creator. Inside every person is a soul, and the pilot deprives people of the most fundamental right, the ability to create their own destiny. Even in their emotions, they are restricted. Okaya raises the question of the meaning of life, which resonates with the group. They show her the code diffuser, a device that erases codes and restores mortality because death is an essential part of human life. Midori wants to reinstate Helios's work, but first, they need to find Helios himself. Then, they can open people's eyes to the truth while they still believe that immortality is the only correct way of existence because they accept maintenance. This is why the group wants to disable its effects so that people can choose for themselves. Kea tells Armares about her encounter with the rebels and their plans. Following the chief of security's orders, she leads a group into the corridors of the unknowing. However, the scanners don't activate, and the group leaves. Logos is detained by Armares, who thanks Okaya for her service and erases Logos's memory. The girl receives gratitude from the pilot himself. She requests permission to see the boy, but her request is denied because Logos no longer exists. She is offered a position in the capital, but she asks to stay. One day, Okaya refuses maintenance, and the twin sisters notice her anxiety. They reveal the location where Logos is kept, and she visits him. However, the boy doesn't recognize her, so she corners him in a corridor and kisses him, revealing her identity. She explains that it's her fault he was changed. He doesn't respond positively, but the girl attempts to contact the rebel group, who initially refuse to talk to her. So she goes to the church, where the leader is surprised by her presence since they initially declined to help her. Kaya confesses that initially she thought they were wrong, but when she stopped taking maintenance, the truth unfolded before her. She found Logos, and he needs to be saved. Later, the pilot is informed of the disappearance of a young man who was kidnapped by the rebels. He vanishes, and all his data, apparently downloaded by Okaya, is gone. In the meantime, the girl comforts the boy, telling him about the world created by the pilots, and then his memory. The rebels manage to restore Logos, and they decide to hack into the pilot's global broadcast to address everyone simultaneously. However, the first step is to resolve the issue of disabling maintenance. Kaya seeks help from the twin sisters, who guide the group to the right location. After infiltrating the data center, the rebels disable the maintenance, and the group retreats to a tent camp in the mountains. There, Midori starts pondering the pilot's motivations for making them happy. Logos suggests providing his data to restore the scientist's original version. In the evening, the group's leader informs them that the modified maintenance will be distributed the next day. Logos suggests being the first mortal to test the diffuser despite the risk of losing his identity. Okaya agrees with his decision, even though she doesn't fully understand it. Logos explains that he wants to make his own choices and feel the weight of their consequences. He puts on the diffuser and loses consciousness. Midori stabilizes his condition, but the outcome remains uncertain. The next morning, Logos regains consciousness and recognizes Okaya, which means his mind wasn't damaged. He admits that he feels different now, seeing things clearly and being ready to show the world what he has done. The pilot's broadcast is interrupted by Logos, who tells people that his doubts began when he started questioning the purpose of life on this planet. He no longer is a prisoner of the code and is not under the pilot's control. He sees the beauty of life, and people should hear him out. He is alive because he is mortal. Later, the pilot confides in Amanda that his aim was to make people happy. However, Logos turned out to be immune to his ideas, an anomaly with immunity. Amanda is puzzled. The pilot programs people for contentment, reminding them of the horrors of mortal life, while he was just a simple geneticist who saw the potential to change society and solve all its problems. The pilot explains that there is no black hole, God, or angels. He created paradise. However, he doesn't understand why Logos desires a different life. Armares urges the pilot to immediately stop Logos's speech and eliminate all dissidents. Despite vigilant monitoring, the number of those choosing mortality is increasing. The pilot informs Amanda that only Helios can bring the diffuser to full readiness. Amanda starts to realize that the pilot is, in fact, Helios. He confesses that he divided his own code, becoming two different thinkers. Helios's data is under control, and the only genome capable of accepting it is the pilot's. Meanwhile, Logos confides in Okaya that he is afraid of death. She understands that faith is all anyone has, and it's precious. Logos kisses her, shares a dose of the substance, and she remains alive. The pilot discovers Amanda's disappearance, which eventually appears on screen. She reveals that she uploaded Helios's data into herself, and is now the key to a new world and a new humanity. Throughout history, from Dostoevsky onward, it has been a truth that pain and suffering make us who we are. Many may break, but these hardships are what drive us forward. The pilot himself arrived at his formula for eternal life through the pain of loss. However, humanity would still like to live a bit longer, if only to subscribe to Flick Spoilers. Thanks for watching.